Thank you, y'all. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, good attitude people. Hey Michelle, how you doing? Are we already on the World Wide Web? Oh wow. We should straighten up and fly right. Welcome to Metron. Glad that you're here, and for all the people that are coming in, come on in, come on in. Those of you who are coming in, come in and come forward. We're glad that you are here. Hey, how are you? Y'all coming in? Good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, good to see y'all. All right, let's. I think we're already in agreement. Let's remain standing, and we'll play the YouTube people, please, Maestro.
Hello, and welcome to Metron. Metron means measure and sphere of influence, and we want to help you find your Metron. Through motivation, enlightenment, transcendence, renewal, outreach, and networking. We're excited to have you here today, and hope you enjoy the service.
Good morning. Did I just lose? Oh, there it is. I'm good. I think. Okay, are we good? Can you hear me? I think I'm good, Charles. Anyway. Oh, it isn't. All right. The relay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Is that better? All right. We're going to probably do a meditation today. Like I told you, we don't have a artist of the month today. Zach Keogh will be with us next week to do In the Now taping. But before you're seated, if we can, Michelle, do we have that Lord's Prayer affirmation? Let's all say this together, please, as our worship. Of course, this is the sort of metaphysical Lord's Prayer. Let's all say this together. Our Father, who art in heaven, presence of divine love and light that lives within us and within all of life. Hallowed be thy name. We invoke the powerful creative nature of all that is sacred and holy. Thy kingdom come. We embrace the healing essence that is the kingdom of heaven within us. I love that one. Thy will be done. We accept our greatest good as we align with our divine nature, on earth as it is in heaven, knowing that the affairs of our lives reflect our evolving consciousness. Give us this day our daily bread. Each day we receive great blessings from within and throughout all the activities of our lives. And forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. We accept the divine nature of all things and all people, including ourselves, as we move away from judgment and toward greater awareness and divine presence. And lead us not into temptation. We shall be vigilant in expressing and experiencing the oneness with all life. But deliver us from evil as we are learning to live without fault-finding and suffering. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. For we accept the consciousness of divine perfection with all its power and glory right here, right now, and forever. I love that one too. Amen. And so it is. So be it. That's good. That's good. Let's just give God a praise and just give an applause. Clap your hands, all you people. Thank you. And then you may be seated. I love that. I've just already feel energized just saying those words. And all right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Glory. Hey, Tondi. How you doing? Thank you so much for being here on this crisp autumn morning. I just decided to go ahead and wear fall colors and just say it's fall. I don't care. It's September. I'm gonna feel fallish. Yeah. Well, actually, I think the 21st. Is that this week? So we're getting close to it. of course, our outreach this month is the Chapel of Love, and they've already received that. And Robert's already thanked us for that, and I know they're working on it. Of course, we will be there. I'll announce that in just a moment. We'll be there to celebrate Thanksgiving with them in November. But again, if you want to send something directly to them, because I know he's still trying to get their ceiling done in the chapel, you can do that. I'm sure there's plenty of ways to figure that out online. You know what I saw this week? You may already know this, but the exchange of money has gotten so accessible now. We went somewhere the other night where they had a valet park our car, and neither of us, I thought he had cash, and he thought I did. So we got there. I said, I don't have anything to tip you with. I said, is there a ATM around? And he said, no, not around here. He said, it's fine. And I felt bad because, I mean, he had parked the car and brought it up and everything. I said, no, I've got to figure out a way. He said, do you have the Cash app? And I said, yeah. And so he said, well, just text me. And I just texted him, and it sent the money right there too. I thought, wow, this is great. Of course, I need to be careful with that with all the indigent people around my building who are constantly asking me, do you have $1? And I'm like, no, I don't have any. Do you have the Cash app? Like, but anyway, that was kind of cool. I mean, I don't know if there's actually money anymore. There's just things that we text to each other. But anyway, so that's our outreach. Thank you for giving toward that. Announcements I need to make, upcoming events, make sure that you have them on your calendar. Of course, we have the meditation weekend number 8. And, it's so interesting how the pictures translate. Ken and I went to a social function out at Reynolds last night. And every one of those guys, that's what they wanted to ask about is, man, those meditation weekends look so cool. And, of course, everybody says, I'm going to the next one. Like, okay, well then. But, yeah, we had a good time. There's all the people that live out there where Ken works. But we'll be in Hiawassee at Lake Chattooga. I think most of you already have your rooms, so you can still get them. We'll be there October 19th and 20th. That's sunset meditation on Saturday the 19th, sunrise meditation on Sunday the 20th, which means we will not be here in the theater. Then in November, we'll be going to the Sunday before Thanksgiving. We'll be joining with the Chapel of Love out there in Eatonton like we've done before, and it's going to be great, I believe. If anybody can get that thing finished in time, it's Rutherford. He's I don't know how he does it, but somehow they'll get it done. So we will also give to them in November as well to help cover with the food because we're going to do Thanksgiving celebration out there. And then also make sure you have on your calendar for Christmas, we're going back to the Castle on Peachtree, the Rhodes Hall. That's going to be Tuesday, December 17th, and very excited about returning there. I thought what we did last year was just excellent, as all of our Christmas celebrations have been. For our year of living your best life, there was quite a few innovative ones that were on. That was Ray's concoction that he made, and that was Rosalind talking about. Rosalind's a little under the weather today, but she had a. He said, "What's that got to do with living your best life?" It's because she had a positive attitude. And sometimes you go through something and you realize, wow, a year ago this would have really bent me out of shape, and it sort of didn't today. And attitude, man, I'm telling you, attitude is everything. I think, I know we've over-talked about the miracle of me getting my stuff back from the bottom of the river, but I think a lot of it had to do with just the attitude of saying, I know it's going to be okay, it's going to be fine. And it was definitely a teachable moment for me. So thank you. I think that's all the ones we had. There's some other ones I posted, but thank you for using the hashtag is YOLYB19, Year of Living Your Best Life 19. And when I reshare your pictures on the Instagram, I'm not correcting you. I just always put the hashtag on. The hashtag makes sure it goes all to the same place. Got it? Capiche? All right. I think that was everything I needed to tell you. I'll probably wrap up this series today since Zach will be here next week, and I'm not sure what we'll do. This month actually has 5 Sundays in it, so I haven't decided what we're going to do on the 29th. But he will be here next week, and we'll do 3 tapings of In the Now. with Jim Swilley, and Zach always has a really unique take on things, and so I'm looking forward to him being here. I don't think we've done one of those in about a year, and I think he was here last year when we did it. I cannot believe how time flies. It's unbelievable. Like when my memories on Facebook, something will come up, and I'm like, that was 5 years ago? How is that possible? I swear, if you had asked me, I'd be, that was a few months ago, right? I've lost all concept of. I know. Those little kids are all adults now. They probably have kids of their own. It's crazy. Hey, Patricia. So anyway, but I do want to finish this up. I've enjoyed talking about it, and I've walked it out this week, as I will talk about today. But anyway, are we ready for the podcastians? And then we'll do a meditation at the end. Welcome to the Metron Live podcast, coming to you from beautiful, historic Midtown Atlanta. Metron people, would you give the Metron Live people a big hand? Welcome, podcastians. And those of you that listen to the podcast, I love your feedback, so thank you when you send me a message and let me know that it resonates with you. And again, of course, we always appreciate Charles. Technically, this isn't a podcast per se. A podcast is really something that you do live, and but we've put this in podcast format because it's just so accessible. And if you have a smartphone, you already have the app on your phone and it will show you when stuff is on deck. So it's called Metron Live, and it's easy to find. But our series, we'll probably end it today with 3 parts. But the title of the series is A Merry Heart Does Good Like a Medicine, Serotonin, Dopamine, Endorphins, and the Healing Power of Happiness. And it was interesting, in today's A Year in the Now, I actually talked about this scripture, and I even used the word endorphins. I was so surprised that I was even using that terminology 18 years ago, which Avery sent me a text that Amazon ordered 7 copies this week. I thought, well, I'm so happy that something that's been out for 18 years has still got somebody that's buying it, so that's good. And now, the reason I started posting it again, Kindle, they've done this thing now where you can do a quote from there, and it'll put it in a meme for you. And there's several that you can choose from. So yeah, that's cool. Some of it sounds a little more not quite the way that I talk now, but there's still an audience for that. And then a lot of it, I just overdid that alliteration to good Lord. I mean, some of it I was doing kind of tongue-in-cheek, but now that's one thing, because Howie was a teacher, and he said, I love A Year in the Now. I think it's the best book ever written, but some of the alliteration makes me want to throw the book at you. And I'm like, don't ever say that to me again. But anyway, so it was a confirmation, and we've already gone through the definitions of what these things are, but we base this teaching on Proverbs 17:22, where Solomon said, a merry heart does good like a medicine. Sometimes it's translated as laughter does good like a medicine. And some of the things that the Bible writers said about this kind of thing are now corroborated or validated by science. Now scientists have figured out that there are some things that are biological, some things that can only be fixed chemically, but there's so much about your health that has to do with your attitude. Even if you take medicine, you have to take medicine with the attitude. If you go for a procedure, you've got to feel good about the facility. You've got to like your surgeon. The attitude figures into everything. It's not just, when I talk about laughing, I'm not just talking about running around laughing hysterically. Although I will say, this week I had a little flare up with vertigo. I don't know if you've ever had it before. I'm still kind of walking out the aftershocks of it, but it's nasty. It's the devil. It's horrible. And so I will spare you the details of the manifestations of it because it was horrible. I will tell you, I lost 5 pounds in one day, so there's that. But anyway, at a certain point, if you have it, you can take it's something called meclizine, and you could only get it by prescription, but it's over the counter now, and it's usually like in Dramamine or in there's a particular thing that you can take. It's called Bonine, Bonine, and it especially stops the nausea that comes from it. And I don't want to say too much about it. Also, feeling it again, but it's bad. I mean, you get to a certain point where even if there's nothing in you, your body is still trying to expel stuff. So it's horrible. I mean, it's just horrible. So I could tell I was running out of Bonine, and I couldn't. I was just laying on my bed, trying to keep the world still. And let me say this about the manifestation before I get into my outline. Several things happened last week that I do believe triggered me, and I think when the scripture says the curse causeless does not come, I can kind of connect the dots to I can see why this happened. One thing I've noticed about the more you evolve in your attitude, you have to watch it because you actually become more sensitive. You know what I mean? It's like there was a time certain things wouldn't affect me at all, but the old the fable of the princess and the pea. You know, she was so pure that she could feel the pea under the mattress. The more you get your attitude right and the more evolved you become, you have to really guard yourself about words that are spoken, whatever, because you become so sensitive to them that things that used to wouldn't even affect you, they do affect you. The good thing about triggers for me is I don't ignore triggers. Like if something makes me feel a certain way, it affects my mood or affects my body, it makes me want to look at it. I'm like, why did that affect me so much? It's like, to me, it's a clue to getting better. So I don't mind when something triggers me, and I'm even trying to process, well, why did some things that happened last week manifest in my body like they did? But when you're teaching a series on healing and health, and you're in bed, saying, does anybody have a gun in this place? Can you just put me down? Like, take me to the Humane Society and put me out of my misery. It's just ironic. It's like, it's like I remember one time I was going to teach a thing on healing, and my back went out, It's like, it's so bad to go, how many of you believe Jesus healed? It's just kind of, it's like, this is not a good time to be stooped over. So it wasn't lost on me, the irony. Like, I'm teaching a series this month on A Merry Heart Does Good Like a Medicine, and have my head in the toilet. Like, what the heck is going on? So I couldn't even text, when everything's spinning, you can't text. So I got my watch, and I said, because Ken was on call last week, and so I was like alone. So I said, Ken, can you, I'm like Dick Tracy on my watch. And he said, yeah, what can I do? And I said, text my kids and find out which ones aren't in Europe right now or about to go into labor, and see if any of them, however many I had, I don't remember right now. I think it's north of 3. I know I had 3 or 4 maybe. Can you see if any one of them could go by the store and get me some Bonine and maybe some ginger ale and some saltines? He said, yeah, okay. So he texted back. He said, Judah's in Covington. He'll be there in about 30 minutes. I said, okay, great. So I'm laying on the bed. So finally I hear this knock on the door. He said, I've already told the concierge just to let him up. So I was like, great, thank you. So I hear this knock on the door, and I'm like, I'm coming. Don't leave. I'm trying not to fall into the wall. It's especially dangerous when you go in the bathroom, because if you start falling, your head's hitting the toilet, So I'm like, hang on, I'm coming. So again, I'm thinking, how the heck I'm teaching on A Merry Heart Does Good Like a Medicine. I don't see anything funny about this. And there's a certain way, I don't know, I've never known if Judah does this intentionally or not. I can't tell if he's being funny or if he just mispronounces things, but it's just funny the way he says things. So I finally let him in, and he comes in. I've got a table, it's right there in the kitchen. He said, I got you some ginger ale and some salties and he called it Bodine instead of Bonine. And I don't know why, that just struck me funny. I immediately thought of Jethro Bodine. And he said, do you need anything else? I said, no, I'm about to go to the bathroom. So he said, okay, I'll leave. So in the middle of, I won't give you TMI, but I'm also going, he called it Bodine. That was funny. And I actually started feeling better, because I thought, oh, well, I guess I'm practicing what I preach. I found something funny in the midst of everything, It's just, I guess I was desperate for something to laugh at. It just was funny to me that he called boat night boating. I didn't want to correct him because it actually made me feel better. And I thought, well, I do practice what I preach. I'm finding, because I am not in a funny situation right now, and yet I'm finding something funny to laugh about. I still think it's funny now when I think about it, because it reminds me of other things that he mispronounced his whole life that it's just funny. Apparently it was just for me, but it was, I don't know, sometimes when somebody just pronounces something a certain way, it strikes me funny, and I don't want to really correct them because I don't want to be like the pronunciation Nazi. But sometimes it's a little funny. And the other day I was like, I'll take all the merriness my heart can find. So I found some. So anyway, I want to show you two scriptures. This first one, this is John 10:10 in the Message, and probably the most misquoted verse in church world, because my whole life I heard people talk about it, saying it was talking about the devil, and that's not. If you read it in context, that's not what he's talking about. He doesn't say the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He says what he actually says. This is out of the Message. He says, "A thief is only there to steal and kill and destroy. I came so they can have real and eternal life, more and better life than they ever dreamed of." I tell you why I love this. The Dalai Lama says the main purpose of life is to be happy. I don't know, those of you that grew up Christian, I don't know what your church experience was, but the church world I grew up in, there wasn't a big premium put on happiness. If anything, happiness was nearly kind of frowned upon as being superficial. I just remember like being at my grandparents' house. As much as I loved them, there's always, keep it down. That laugh's going to turn into a cry. I hear a lot of people quoting Paul talking about foolish jesting, and Lord knows over the years, some of the people that left the church because they thought I was too humorous or whatever, and that was their garbage in, garbage out. That's what they thought church was supposed to be, solemn and austere and whatever. And I never read the Bible that way. I don't think of Jesus as being like a comedian, but a lot of the things that he said, his audience would have laughed at. Like when he said, "You strain at gnats and swallow camels." That's a very absurd verbal imagery, and everybody. It's not like something Steve Martin would have said, but it was funny. Or when he said, "Stop worrying about the speck that's in your brother's eye because you've got a 2x4 in yours." That was a funny statement. It was like, I don't know that they were rolling on the ground laughing at it, but that was meant to be funny and ironic. So a lot of the things that Jesus said were humorous. They were sarcastic. They were, all of the things that I aspire to be. I've always felt like a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, and when the message I teach is all personal responsibility. It's like it's all you. I mean, I'm not telling you to wait for God to do a miracle. I'm saying you make it happen. So what I like about this is Jesus, he doesn't talk about going to heaven when you die. He said, I came that you just might have I love it. The Message says a better life than you ever dreamed of. That's awesome. The Christianity I was raised with is life really stinks, but one day we'll get to heaven and Jesus will apologize to us for how bad it is. Because, we were, the way I was raised, we were taught to hate the world. We're trying to escape. God's going to renovate it by fire. We're trying to get out of here. And, we're just pilgrims passing through. And but here Jesus says, no, I really am more about the now. It's amazing how little Jesus talked about heaven. When he comes up out of the tomb, he doesn't say anything about, well, I've paid the price, now you can go to heaven. No, it says for 40 days he talked about the kingdom. And he says the kingdom is here, the kingdom is at hand. So I like this. And the one I like even better is this next one. And this is John chapter 16, verse 24. And I'm using this in the Amplified Classic. He says, up to this time you have not asked a single thing in my name. As presenting all that I am, but now ask and keep on asking, and you will receive so that your joy, gladness, delight may be full and complete. I love this because he says, ask for what you want because it's going to make you happy, not because it's going to save the world or have some larger kingdom purpose. He's saying something that makes you happy is good enough. I mean, I would go so far as to say that happiness is holiness. Like being happy is a holy thing. And I got to tell you, I haven't known a lot of happy Christians in my life. I mean, the most of my counseling has been Christians who were unhappy with their situation. And if you believe that there's a literal lake of fire that's a place of punishment, when you read in Revelation, it says the King James says the first that go in are the fearful. You know what it actually says in the Greek? It says that those who are not happy with their lot in life is what it actually says. Well, that's half the church members I ever met. I wouldn't have had a job if it hadn't been for unhappy Christians. That's what's kept me gainfully employed my entire adult life. If everybody gets happy, I mean, look how I'm working myself out of a job here. I keep telling you, it's all in you, and y'all finally believe me. Like, there's like 3 of you that come now. The rest of them like, we got it. We'll see. So I've got to create a whole new career for myself now because I've so weaned you off of me. Like, you don't have to come to church to get a word. You're like, I got it. You taught me how to do it. Love you. Give me a fish. I eat for the day. Teach me how to fish. I eat for a lifetime. You've taught me how to fish. I'm going to Lake Lanier. I'll see, like, okay. So I don't know where it's headed, but, clearly I'm doing what I'm supposed to. But I love this because he just says, no, ask for what you want. I used to hear people say, when I was in Bible college, they would say, God's not the Santa Claus in the sky. He's not just going to give you what you want. He'll give you what you need. Ask for what you need. Well, Jesus would say things like, it gives your Father good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Or, I mean, all of us that have kids, you had to learn how to tell your kids no, and they couldn't have everything they asked for. But wasn't there something beautiful about when you could get them the thing that they wanted? And like that, there was such a joy in, them getting that thing, because it made them happy. And I love this because here Jesus says, no, it doesn't have to have any big, larger purpose. It's just ask, like, you're valid enough that your happiness should matter. So if something made you happy, that's good enough. I love that. Thank you, Jesus and Dalai Lama, for saying that it's okay to be happy. This was kind of cool because Ken's youngest son bought a truck. This has been a couple months ago. And Ken had gone to the dealership with him to help him get it and gave him some money toward it or whatever. So when he came in, he was telling, because Brandon is a really good kid and he works really hard and he's a very talented welder and his little girlfriend's adorable and they're great. And when Ken came in, and I said, what did he get? And he said, well, he actually got something higher end than what he had thought he was going to get. And he was going back and forth about whether he should get it or not. And he said, I've learned this from you, not just because of our relationship, but because you're my pastor. He said, I said, look, you work hard, get what you want. And he said, before I met you, I don't know that I would have said that to him. I would have probably said, maybe you don't need all those bells and whistles. Maybe he doesn't need that. He said, but that's what he wants. Now, if he was like a kid that was all not working and always asking us for money or whatever, that'd be a different thing. But he's working hard. And I thought, I'm so glad that you can convey that to him to say, if, it may stretch you, that car payment may stretch you a little bit, but okay, if you're in your truck a lot of the time in the day, if that's what you really want, then why not? That's kind of why I traded my car in recently, because it's very similar. It's the same model that I had before, but it's a couple of years newer. And it just had a couple of things on it that I really missed, and I wanted it. And I thought, I'm just going to get it. And I like even driving over here, because I drove from Greensboro this morning in my dizziness. Ken said, "Are you okay to drive?" I said, "Sure." Just keep thinking of Bodine. That'll make you laugh. But even driving here today, I thought, I'm so glad I got this. This is what I wanted. I really like the other one. I love this one. And of course, you can't just get. Well, I don't know. I started to say you can't get everything you want. Maybe you can. Maybe that's the ultimate reality. I was even listening. I don't know if you've looked at some of the recent stuff that Jim Carrey does. He's not really doing a lot of comedy anymore, but some of his stuff on YouTube talking about manifestation and laws of attraction, it's really amazing. I mean, it's just amazing. And I was watching something. He was talking about a little Catholic friend of his that he had growing up that would tell him that it was some saint that he would pray to. He said, I just go tell Saint so-and-so what I want, and I go in my room and I get it. And he said, it's something about it just, he said, I don't pray to a saint, but he said, I liked that this kid just had such a, I believe I'm going to get it, and got it. And he said, if you've ever heard his story, he started saying he was going to make $10 million, and he actually did on his first movie. And he would go out in a field and stretch his arms out and become a conduit for manifestation. It's like really, really cool stuff. And yeah, that's what it was. Yes. And so I love that idea, um, and I don't know if this is a Southern thing or if this is a church thing or whatever, but there was always the don't get too big for your britches mentality of, don't brag too much, don't have too much, don't show off too much or whatever. And of course, I'm not advocating you become a jerk and, exploit your blessings at the expense of other people. But it's okay to enjoy your life and to celebrate it. That's one reason when I'm having a good time, I take pictures of it because I want to freeze frame this moment. I want to relive this later. This is a beautiful moment that I have right now. I mean, I never asked Ken to take pictures. I never asked BJ to take as many as he does. Here we've been here 5 years. They still Keith's taking pictures today. I think every time we come together, it's this extraordinary experience, this energy that comes together. I never, for whatever Metron ever eventually becomes or however it's remembered, I always remember these amazing times. We've had some amazing times. And I love that we have all these pictures that I could just do one picture, the picture of the day, but no, I want to remember every facet of it that I can. And I love that, especially BJ, so tireless and just, he just keeps cranking out those pictures because I think every time we've met has been special. If there's 52 Sundays in a year and we've done this 5 years, we're like around 300 Sundays. Wouldn't that be right? Something like that. 52 times 5. More like 500 Sundays. Is that right? It's a lot of Sundays. Can nobody do math in this? Y'all are my people. I have reproduced after my own kind. Well, I mean, we're a little plus after 5 years, but but if I don't know, it's a lot of Sundays. But everyone has been special. Everyone's been, what is it? What'd you do? Yeah, okay, it's around 260, 200, okay, somewhere in there. That's a lot. We've come together. That's a lot of all of you that set up and tear down every Sunday. Like, tell me about it. I know. But they never get weary in well-doing that I can tell, and I certainly appreciate it. But I want to celebrate being happy. I want to celebrate the good stuff that happens. And I want to be as happy for you as I am for me. You know what I mean? It's like, I think when you really know that you're getting to a maturity level, when you're sincerely happy for other people. Like, when good stuff happens to them, you're like, great. That just means, it can happen for me too. It's never, why does everything happen for them? No, the sun will shine on anybody that'll get out in it. The sun's not playing favorites. You just have to get out in it. And so I don't think I'm reading too much in this verse because, the Old Testament, aside from some of David's more jubilant psalms, the Old Testament wasn't about happiness. It was about the judgment of God and, the Ten Commandments. And Jesus says, ask what you want so that you can be happy about it. Get what you want. Even with your own self-esteem, sometimes don't go run up your credit card, stuff that you can't pay for. But sometimes it's valid to treat yourself or take care of yourself. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes, should I spend this much on getting my hair did? Like, yeah, I need to, because I'm valuable. It's going to affect the way that I feel, and it's not a pride thing. This is will ultimately affect my health. This is going to affect, just everything. So, again, I'm not telling you not to take your meds or not to go to doctors, but whatever you do, whether you eat meat or you're a vegan, whatever you do, just do it with a good attitude. Because I think even if you're vegan and healthy and you're a jerk about it, I think it becomes counterproductive. If you're condemning everybody else I don't technically eat red meat anymore, but they did hamburgers on the grill last night, and I ate a hamburger because I didn't want to be the guy going, I didn't eat meat. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to be that guy, and so when they're asking how do you want them done, everybody's like medium well, And when they got to me, I started to say I don't eat red meat, but I just said medium, and it was great. It doesn't mean I'm, that I'm going to be eating steak every night. It's just like, it was fine. It was okay. I didn't want to dishonor their function that they invited us to. It was about hamburgers and hot dogs. So this guy's firing up the grill. I mean, he's out there sweating over it. I don't even like, do you have any kale? I don't want, it's just, nobody wants to be that guy. Now, when I go over here to Metro Fresh, I'll eat kale because that's what everybody's, and I'll be like, I'll be all new agey with them and progressive and everything. But, Jesus said to his disciples, eat what's put in front of you. Is this still good? That's not Felicia back there, is it? You know what Felicia told me last week? Now, I wouldn't have thought this, but she said, I've been listening to you for 25 years. That message today was in my top 5 of anything I've ever heard you teach. And I was like, wow, you better go, Felicia. You weren't drunk or anything. You just said that on your own. No, I thought about it several times today. I thought, well, it was in Felicia's top 5. I mean, that's pretty good after a quarter of a century. And she's like, that was right up there. I was like, okay, I wouldn't have put that on my best of list, but sure, why not? So now I'm like, did you want to hear one of the top 5 I've ever done? Should have been here last Sunday. All right. Now I've got some unusual quotes for you that are about serotonin and endorphins. And like I told you initially, I'm not a neurologist, a neuroscientist. When I talk about neurotransmitters or peptides or whatever, this is not my area. But I understand enough of it to know that, yeah, there are chemicals that your brain makes that affect your physical body. Solomon said, a merry heart does good like a medicine. I say, when you got your head in the toilet and you laugh over Bodine, it helps a little bit. The neurologists say serotonin actually helps your physical body. We're all saying the same thing in our own vernacular. Can I get a witness up in here in this theater? Okay. This Loretta Graziano Broning says this. Each happy chemical triggers a different good feeling. Dopamine produces the joy of finding what you seek, the Eureka, I got it feeling. Endorphin produces the oblivion that masks pain, often called euphoria. Any of you that have ever run, I never really experienced runner's high, but apparently, I've run the Peachtree 30 times. I never got runner's high, but apparently I didn't run enough. There's a place you get your body where you push it to where it produces an endorphin where you do not feel pain, and it's like it gives you a sense of being high, but it's not chemically induced. It's physical. I mean, it's not externally induced. It's a chemical from your physical body. Oxytocin produces the feeling of being safe with others, now called bonding, and serotonin produces the feeling of being respected by others, or pride. It's just interesting that so many of these things that we thought were only emotional or only spiritual, as it turns out, they actually are chemical. And to me, I like the idea of thinking I am a spirit, I have a soul, I have a mind, I live in a body. everything that I can know about the emotional, spiritual, and physical, it's all going to help me become the best version of me that I can. I don't want to say that that's any one thing. It's all of it together. Um, that was one thing, a lot of things about Oral Roberts back in the day were misguided, but one thing that he really had it going on with was the idea of merging medicine and prayer. When he built the City of Faith, the idea was that you can go here for surgery, but also they're going to be praying for you. That was a concept that's really ahead of its time, and now you read a lot of these really trendy, state-of-the-art medical facilities are doing that thing. They're leading meditation. They're doing prayer. They're doing affirmations, law of attraction. I love that. I love it. The word holistic to me is a good word. It's like, it's everything. You know what I mean? It's like I want to do everything that I can. Yes, I want to eat right. Yes, I want to exercise. Yes, I want to. But I also want to know how this is going to affect me. There's some things it's not that I like to eat them so much, but I've read enough about them that I think, I probably should eat that. That's good. I need that in my body, and it helps you. You don't just eat stuff because you like the way it tastes. You eat stuff because you like what it does for you. And so I think this is good information to have. The next quote, and we may be a little brief today, but this Ruth Feischl says this. Brainwave tests prove that when we use positive words, our feel-good hormones flow. Positive self-talk releases endorphins and serotonin in our brain. Even this morning, on a couple of the affirmations we did in the Lord's Prayer, I felt it. I don't know if I'm just extra sensitive to serotonin right now, but there was a way that saying those words made me feel, and I thought, that just released a chemical that made me feel better. Anyway, self-talk releases endorphins and serotonin in our brain, which then flow throughout our body, making us feel good. These neurotransmitters stop flowing when we use negative words. This is it. These are scientists and physicians who have made the connection between the words of your mouth and the chemicals that are produced in your brain. Well, this is what Solomon was saying thousands of years ago when he talked about, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and a man's belly should be filled by the words of his mouth, or you do not be snared with the words of your mouth, or Jesus saying you have what you say. These are just eternal truths. This isn't just the Judeo-Christian theology does not have the market cornered on this. It's not a, what's the word? Monopoly on that. It's that's just truth that the Bible also tapped into. And I always, my brain chemistry is very affected by the Bible. I mean, I've thought biblically my whole life. So when I hear somebody talk about law of attraction or intention or whatever, my first instinct is to say, oh, well, that's like believe you receive when you pray. To me, it's not a us versus them. It's like, oh, I see what you're saying. I'm actually translating it to myself in a way that I can understand, and I think I'm able to do that because I don't. I've even started wearing my cross again. It's like I'm not anti-Christian. I nearly feel like I'm a missionary to Christians. I'm not one of you, but I understand how you think, and so let me explain to you what. I mean, I've been telling you this for years. I always felt like that was my role with the Bible. I always felt like the Bible was like having a friend that everybody else thought was a jerk and a bully, and they were all afraid of him, but you really knew him, and you're like, no, he's not like that at all. You just misunderstand it. And I've always felt like that was my role in, because I know the scriptures, but to be able to say like, no, there's not a man floating in a throne somewhere that's trying to look for ways to send you to a lake of fire. I mean, you got that very convoluted. That's kind of a Frankenstein monster of theology where you've taken lots of different things that people said out of context and you've sewn it together and you've created this thing that's not what God's all about at all. And so I'm never going to stop talking about the Bible. I'm always going to use that as a reference point. But I'm not limited to that. Because when you look in your concordance under serotonin, there's nothing. You know what your concordance is? No? Not everybody knows that. I preached for somebody that had a church of thousands. You would all know his name if I said it. I was preaching for him years ago, and this is back before smartphones had everything on it. And I was in his office, and I was looking for a scripture. I said, Pastor, can I borrow it? Do you have a concordance I can borrow? And he said, a what? I said, a concordance. And he said, what are you talking about? And one of his armor bearers said, Pastor, it's the thing that shows you where scriptures are. I mean, I felt bad. I said, there's probably one in the back of your Bible. There's not one in the back of the one I have. But I said, sorry I asked. I think I can remember where it is. So I thought, well, note to self, you don't need to know the Bible to have a church of thousands. That's for sure. I learned that early on. Anyway, next quote, Delphine Hirsch says this. A lot of people forget how taking a walk in nice weather alone is very uplifting. It gets the serotonin working, and it's not super taxing. It puts life in perspective. You see things passing by and the majesty and timelessness of the world, and it's totally free. What I like about this is there's scientific evidence that walking, I'm not saying that Prozac's not necessary for some people. I'm not trivializing depression, but there's a lot of things that could be eliminated if you would just get out of your environment, if you just go take a walk, if you get some fresh air, if you just change the scenery. And now that's scientifically proven. It's not just trivializing a situation. It's like, no, walking actually does release serotonin. Running will eventually release endorphins, but you got to be, pretty good shape to get to that level. But just taking a walk, just being evident. This Apple Watch I've got, I don't know if I've got it on the wrong setting, but it's telling me in the middle of the night to get up and walk. Like I'll feel it buzz. I'm like, what the heck? And it says, it's time for you to get up and walk. I'm like, it's 3:00 in the morning. Shut up. Like, what the heck? But I also like I don't want to get too lazy, so I'm like, all right, I'm going back to sleep. I got you, but I'm going to walk in a few hours, not right now. The next quote, Lana Sandin, it says, when you eat, I've never done a quote on chocolate, but I thought this is interesting. When you eat chocolate, it can release certain chemicals in the brain that improve serotonin levels to help us feel good and help us feel calm. Can I get a witness of it? I can't believe my chocolate lovers. But I'm telling you, it is a mood elevator. Now, it could spike your sugar and make you crash. That's why I used to tell, when I used to do a lot of counseling, I would say, you probably want to see me after lunch, because if I'm really hungry and my blood sugar's gotten low, I might make you feel worse. When you come and tell me about your situation, I'll be like, oh my God, that's really bad. I don't see any way out. Then, give me a Snickers bar. I'm like, everything's going to be fine. Is it the anointing? No, it's chocolate. But, of course, sugar's got its drawbacks, but there are things, especially in dark chocolate, that are antioxidants and that sort of thing. And I don't know, I was just reading about different things you can do. I mean, serotonin's a real thing. It's a real chemical in your brain. If you learn how to make it work for you, it can help you. I mean, David didn't know what serotonin was, but he knew how to encourage himself in the Lord. And so he knew there were certain things that he could say. There's certain music I can listen to that's automatically going to make me feel a certain way. It's going to make me feel better. And I keep all of those tools handy. I've got a whole cache of certain YouTube things that always make me laugh, and I'll go back and watch them. Some things that may not translate now. Because comedy has a shelf life. Like I was years ago, I was showing Christina some DVDs from Rona Martin's Laughing, and she said, "This isn't funny at all." I said, "I know it was funny then. You'd have to have lived in 1968 to understand why this is funny. Now it's kind of like a time capsule, but it was funny. But like I can watch there's 2 or 3 different Carol Burnett episodes where Harvey Korman and Tim Conway crack each other up. They just always make me laugh. Now, it's because I was there when they were first run. Now, if you show them to young people, they may not think that's as funny. But they've just, Hulu's just put all of the entire 7 seasons of Designing Women on there, and I've been watching those. It's such a well-written show, so funny. Oh my God, just those little nuanced things about it that just are a hoot. But you might not think that they're that funny. You need to find what makes you laugh. And if it makes you laugh, if it's a good memory or whatever, sometimes there's certain private jokes I have with my friend Howie that if I tried to explain to you, it would not be funny because it's funny to my inner 18-year-old from 1976. But sometimes I'll just send him a text with just a phrase on it just because, and I'll get a LOL back because we're just remembering that was funny. If I told you about it, you probably wouldn't think it was funny. But we thought it was funny. Like I'm thinking it's funny. Excuse me a minute. See, I just released some serotonin. See, it just worked. Now this one, I don't think I've ever quoted Ellen DeGeneres before, so this is a first, but this is what Ellen DeGeneres said. Now, I'm no scientist, but I know what endorphins are. They're tiny little magical elves that swim through your bloodstream and tell funny jokes to each other. When they reach your brain, you hear what they're saying, and that boosts your health and happiness. Knock, knock, who's there? Little endorphin. Little endorphin who? Little endorphin Annie. And then the endorphins laugh, and then you laugh. See? It's science. Now, see, if you didn't know that Little Orphan Annie was a cartoon strip back in the day, you might not think that was funny. But that was kind of funny. And even though she's being absurd, that actually is true. That's what, scientists wouldn't call the magical elves in your bloodstream, but that's kind of, in a sense, what they are. So, it's great when you have somebody that can cheer you up, and everybody needs that. We all need help. And even this week when I had some issues I had to work through. I even have to, and I think you know my heart well enough to know I'm thrilled for Judah, and I'm glad they're doing well out there. But with some of the people that go there, I have to process it because I know they weren't good with me, but they're really cool with him. So I have to think, all right, this isn't about you. So process it, and if this is a trigger for you, get past it because they're dealing with their own whatever. So don't make this a bigger deal than it is. And that's what I'm talking about, triggers. As little things, I don't want to walk around, on eggshells and be overly sensitive. I want to look at, why did that make you feel a certain way? Then process it, digest it emotionally, and then eliminate it. Like, let's figure out why that is something you have to think about or deal with or figure out or whatever. And so, I don't know. This just seemed like a timely word. It's like I have to know how to self-medicate. And I'm not talking about going to CVS and having somebody pick me up a box of Bodine. I'm talking about learning how to self-medicate with my own attitude. And even there's some venting you could do that's not worth it because all you're going to do is just say a bunch of stuff that's going to make you feel worse. So, I never tell anybody what to do on their social media platforms. Free speech, I celebrate it, do it. But if everything on your page is negative and whatever, it's just, you need to think about that because it's going to, you're sending out a lot of negative energy. And, I read between the lines. I read the stuff that, a lot of people will post about ministers who aren't more vocal about things, and they'll quote Martin Luther King talking about the silence of his friends or whatever. And I don't, sometimes I read and think, I hope you're not talking about me because I think I've been pretty, if you followed me for any length of time, I've been pretty outspoken about racism and homophobia. And I don't know how much more out I can be about certain things, but I don't want to live in that, especially in an age where the world has become so polarized that whatever you say, the other side who disagrees with you is only going to double down, and dismiss what you say, and they're going to believe what they believe even more. So I would rather, if I'm going to affect hearts and minds at all, I'd rather come at it asymmetrically and say, I understand, or I'm trying to understand why you may see the world that way. And I know that me just lecturing you about how I see the world is not going to make you see it my way. It's just not. If you think you're winning converts by, the stuff that you're posting online all the time, you might make yourself feel better, but you're not changing how anybody else feels. You're only fitting more into a stereotype of what people think that people like you think. And, some people may be upset that I say that, but I really do believe that. So you do whatever you want to do. It's fine. I have people very close to me that, it's not even that I necessarily disagree with what they're saying. I just want to say, a little bit of that goes a long way. You know what I mean? You just can't stay in that mode all the time. Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm not even just talking about political stuff, but have you ever noticed there's certain people that everything they post online is some issue with somebody? I just tell them that I think, good Lord, are you just like mad at everybody? And sometimes you read, like, I think, is this passive aggressive at me? Like, I know this person. Who are you talking about? And you need some better friends. I'm actually surrounded by people that don't stress me out that much. Most of the people in my world are, kind of on the same wavelength with me. I don't need to be. Even sometimes something will come up in memory, something I wrote 3 or 4 years ago, and I think, I'm not even that guy anymore. Like, I wouldn't even post this now because that doesn't even sound like me. And I don't regret that I wrote it because that's where I was at the time, but that's old news. That's not even an issue with me anymore. I don't want to argue with you about the Bible, whatever you want to believe. Namaste, go with God. Bless your heart. See, I think namaste is the Eastern way of saying bless your heart. I think it's a way of saying you just namaste. You just believe. You believe all the crazy stuff you want to believe. Go with God. But I'm going to leave it at that, and then we'll end with a meditation today. But I just at least want to give you enough information about these things, about neurotransmitters. One thing about neuropaths in your brain. Have you ever noticed how one thought is like a first cousin to another thought? Like you'll hear a song from your teenage that you think, oh, I heard that the night that I broke up with so-and-so. And then you start thinking, so-and-so was really good. I should have broken up with them. And then, it starts all these series of thoughts, why do I do that? Why do I self-sabotage in all my relationships? Before you know, you've spiraled downward when all it was just a 70s station you were listening to. Like, you've maybe read more into it that you need to. But one thought will lead to another. That's why they're called neuropaths, because they, one thing triggers another thing. And if you see yourself, one thing I can tell you, and I think I've sort of taught myself into this place, I can tell if I'm going down a wrong path, and I've learned how to arrest it. You know what I mean? Where there was a time I would just think everything and dig a hole mentally and emotionally. Now I can be like, do you really want to go down this path? Do you really want to have this thought? Do you really, if you need to express yourself, fine, but I don't even think this is your reality anymore. And you know how I've talked about over the years, whether it's the Holy Spirit or the inner voice, whatever you call it, it's easy to lie to yourself. Like, when I used to tell you that I'm eating ice cream out of the carton at 2 o'clock in the morning, watching an infomercial about one of those ab things, and I'm looking at it, eating mint chocolate chip ice cream, going, God, I wish my stomach looked like that. And I heard the voice in me say, no, you don't. And I'm like, excuse me, who said that? And I heard the voice in me say, no, you don't. If you wanted, what you want is Breyer's mint chocolate chip ice cream. So fine, if that's what you would eat. But if you wanted your belly to look like that guy's, you wouldn't be sitting here eating the ice cream. You'd be doing what he's doing, because he's doing hundreds of crunches. I'm like, shut up, still small voice. Like, whatever. I hate you. But it was the truth. Because you end up saying things to yourself. Like I remember watching TBN years ago, and several of my good friends were on there like every night, and I was watching. I thought, why didn't somebody hook me up with TBN? I can't believe somebody didn't. I know all these guys, and they're quoting me on television. Like, why don't they ever have me on there? And the voice in me said, is that what you want? You want to be on TBN? And I'm like, don't I? Really? You wanted to go on and do telethon and be on there with Mike Perky and sing on, like, no, I don't want to do that. Well, then stop creating something that's not real. That's not what you want. That's not who you are. Go eat some mint chocolate chip ice cream and be yourself. Well, now I've learned is that you can lose the weight and you can do the crunches and you can have a little ice cream. It's not either or. It's called abundant life. All right. So with that said, if everybody who wants to participate in this meditation, we'll bring the lights down. If you've never done this with us before, this doesn't mean you're becoming a Buddhist or a Hindu. Jesus was very meditation friendly. It's mostly about breathing. If you would, just sit up straight, put both feet on the floor, clear your lap if you can. You don't have to hold your hands any particular way. A lot of meditators do a mudra, which is just about energy points. Just do whatever feels right to you, what feels comfortable. Meditation is mostly about your breath, so what we're going to do is we're going to do some inhaling through the nose, hold it, and then exhale through the mouth. It has to do with certain things you get into your brain when you breathe that way. Nitrous oxide, which is also a mood elevator, by the way. So let's inhale through the nose, hold it, and exhale through the mouth. Inhale, exhale, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Sit up as straight as you can. Just the more you make your spinal column perpendicular with the ground, it centers things in your body, makes you more receptive. Don't worry about your thoughts. If they go everywhere, it's okay. They'll settle down in a moment. You're just going to become steady in your breathing, steady with your breath. Whatever stress you've had this week, just breathe it out. If you say, well, I'm not thinking of anything, that's good. That's best case. So you get to the place where you're just quiet and still, just breathing, and you're just being. I'm going to wean you off my voice for a little bit and just be consistent in your breath, but remain aware of who you are. Observe your own thoughts until you don't have any. If you're listening to this podcast, just meditate right where you are. Into a place of serenity, harmony, peace, wholeness, wellness. Stay consistent in your breathing. Now, while you're in this environment of meditation, I speak peace to you. I speak healing to you, health, wellness, wholeness, calmness. Your stress level is coming down. Your blood pressure is coming down. Serotonin is being released in your brain. Speak joy to you. The awareness of gratitude. You're aware of what you have to be grateful for this morning. The sense or the inner witness that all is well. Surrounding you with light. Surrounding you with love. Surrounding you with peace. In a moment, we'll start coming out of it. Let's breathe our way out. Just inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Start bringing up the lights. When you're ready to stand, you can go ahead and stand up. That was good. What'd you get out of this series? Somebody tell me, what is anything that was stood out to you, that was something that really works for you besides little Endorphin Annie? Anybody? I got it wrong last week. It was actually ho 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 Hosanna, ha ha hallelujah, he saved me. I was asleep the other night and I woke up with, it was Hosanna first. I got it mixed up. Yes, that is what it sounds like. Yeah, and a couple of tra-la-las. Yeah, that's good. In the merry old land of Oz. Jolly old town, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. It does remind me of that. Anybody else get anything out of this series? What? Was that a witness? Come on, Jesus. Well, I started not to use that, but I thought, no, actually people should know. Because sometimes when you eat chocolate, there's always somebody who wants to shame you or something, like, no, I learned at church today this releases serotonin. And the joy of the Lord is my strength. And merry heart does good like a medicine. I bind you, devil. I'm telling you, there is no way you can eat a box or a bag of peanut M&Ms and be depressed. I'm telling you, everything about them. I know there's other ones. I love almonds, but I don't like the M&M almond. I like the peanut. I don't know. There's something about the roundness, the size, the crunch. It's kind of semi-sweet. The yellow bag. Everything about it is like it's like a serotonin explosion. See, I don't know. Maybe pecan pie M&Ms. They're getting too much. It's too much stuff. They got too many Oreos, too many M&Ms. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I will try them. Yes. Yes. The two roads just come back to truth. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Anybody else get anything out of it? I don't know. Felicia, how did this rank? Was this in the top 10, top 5? What? All right. Emphasis on what? Oh. Oh, good. If you didn't hear that, Avery said I got the emphasis on is. Mary Hart is. Yeah, good. Good. I love it. All right, please remain standing, and we'll play the outro, and then I'll speak a blessing over you.
Contributing to Metron is quick and easy. You can give anytime using any smartphone. Text the amount you would like to donate to 404-620-5044. You will then receive a notification that you successfully completed your donation. You may also visit bishopthenow.com and click the support tab to give there as well. When you contribute to Metron, you're also donating to the charity or organization of the month. Thank you for your investment into Metron.
If you're making a check, make it to JESM, and Danny will receive that. If you have cash, just pay it forward. Go bless somebody with it today and release some serotonin in their brains. It's always good to get. I mean, it's great to get a gift. It just is. So find your Cash App on your phone. You're blessed when you come in. You're blessed when you go out. You're blessed in the city, blessed in the country, blessed in the basket, blessed in the store, blessed is the fruit of your body. You are the head and not the tail, above only and not beneath. Everything you set your hand to this week will prosper. As you bind mercy and truth about your neck, you are given favor with God and man, and you wake up tomorrow saying, this is the day the Lord has enabled me to make. I will rejoice and be glad. I love you so much. Thanks for coming today. Peace.